month nearly finished, and we get to the end. So I hope we're all doing extremely well today. I've got some notes, and let me know if you watched the match yesterday. Let me know how you felt about the match yesterday. Get your opinions in. Obviously, expecting banter, and so feel free to let me know about how you feel about that. Now, today, I'm going to be honest, I don't feel particularly well, so this might be the only show of the day. But yeah, let me know how you are all doing. So today, this is a show I absolutely do not want to do. I take no pleasure today in talking about this show. Obviously, the title says it all. I'm loath, absolutely loath to have this conversation today. This is not a show that I particularly wanted to do today, but I've got to be fair. You know, we get a lot of people on here giving their opinions about this club, and you know, I can't just talk about the things that I want to talk about. As much as I am, you know, just to be clear, I'm still Amarin in, and not for the reasons that people think I'm Amarin in. You know, this has gone beyond. This has gone beyond the coach now. As I said yesterday, no one's coming into this club and fixing this club, but I still need to do this show because I'm not a dictator. No, I do not. It's not my word or the highway. So to be completely fair, I have to do this. I have to talk with you guys, and you guys have to. You don't have to, of course you don't. But I think it's only fair that we talk about what happens, in my opinion, when Amorin gets sacked. The question really is Amorin sacked already? Is Amorin sacked? Let me know your opinions if you think Amorin is sacked already. I think it's really important today that we talk about this, particularly after what I said yesterday. So I got my view and my opinion in yesterday. Danny Corbett says running out of time, I'm afraid. Danny, agree with you, my friend. And again, the reason why this show is painful for me to do is because I'm not an Amarin outer, and it's not about being Amarin out. Right now, I think this is about what's next. What's next? 20 euros. Don't really get what that means, my friend, but Basim, welcome. I don't really understand what that means, but you know, yeah, fine. Feel free to get in your chat. So the first question I'm asking today is Amarin sacked? And this is more show today. This is not a show for me because I don't really want to talk about the next manager, because I'll give you my opinions on that. I gave you my opinions last night on where I think we are as a club. I think that's quite obvious where we are, and I do think we need to have a adult discussion about this. So I know people are Amarin out, don't really like him. I get that. The decisions that he makes are baffling at times. The game yesterday wasn't right. You know, playing Bruno Fernandes as a number 8, it's just not working. Playing Luke Shaw. I mean, Luke Shaw was, you know, I've said this at the beginning of the year, beginning of pre-season. I don't know why Luke Shaw is here. Maguire still getting into the squad is baffling. Places. Hi JB, hello. I hope you're doing extremely well today, Tulip. And again, long time supporter of the show and a mod as well. So one thing I will say is get into the chat, guys. This is one of the best communities out there. Love this. You know, this show today is one that it's really difficult for me to do this today because it's just not something I wanted to talk about, but I feel like I have to. Blue Edit says our old players are infecting in Boom Cunha with their egos and weak mentality is disgusting. I agree with you completely. So Jello says, hello, my friend. I hope we're doing extremely well. So let's just get into this today. So my question is Amarin sacked? Should Amarin be sacked? And that is an existential question for you guys to answer, right? I've got my opinions on it. You guys get your opinions in on it as well. So my opinion is that it doesn't really matter. You know, this is Ineos's guy. If Amarin is sacked, and I think he probably is now, people need to be sacked as well. You know, I've already said this, that Bruno, Amarin going on, Bruno. Not Amarin's fault he's lost the dressing room. Exactly. Look, I agree. Look, and again, guys, get your opinions in on this. Badger says United must be relegated to realise their loss. Badger, I think that's a really silly view, but I respect the opinion. Look, Badger, I respect the opinion. Like, I'm not going to hide away. Just because I say something. Hi from Indonesia. He got the sack. Look, nothing. I'm asking the question, right? I'm asking the question today: is Amarin sacked already? Is Amarin sacked? Like, has he been sacked already? That is the question that I'm asking. Is my opinion on this? I'm not the biggest fan of this, and it's really difficult for me to talk about something right now that I don't really want to talk about because it's bigger than that. The only reason Amarin is here because they know Southgate will be met with backlash and there will be protests. I don't think any of us care about that. These boys must taste defeat, then maybe they realise what the club is. Badger, I don't think they care, mate. Luke Shaw sacked 5. Luke Shaw was a problem when Jose was here, and he's still getting into this team, and he sacked 5. It is absolutely ridiculous. It is crazy. But guys, get me your opinions in on this, because I think it's really, really important. And then we'll talk about it, and then we'll go through the coaches. I mean, I don't particularly want to go through it, but I think it's important to do it today. Badgers, yeah. Dino Hughes, already rumours of talks that he's been held that Southgate reps is who Sir Jim wanted in the first place. Dino, there's a show that I've done already, and I'm adamant on this. Southgate will be the next manager for many, many reasons. Number one, he's cheap. Look, Southgate will come in and he'll promise you the world. Southgate will come in and he will work with these set of absolute low mentality, weak, and not all of them, but there is a core team here that is weak and is absolutely a disgrace to this club. And I've been saying this now for the last week or so. It's going to be Southgate. Sir Jim wants him. This has been already reported by credible source. It's going to be Southgate. But again, we have to go through this, and I think it's really, really important. As I said last night, the problem is, and I do agree with people on here, that the problem is not really, the problem is the players, but the manager and the players are secondary. The real problem here is the Glazers, and it always has been. Ineos. I mean, you're looking at Ineos here, right? Let's just start at the sort of head of the snake, right? Ineos decided to completely change the way that we've always played. Told Amaran to come into the squad, or Amaran should be starting the job now, right? Ineos said, look, no, you come in. Whoever's decision that was to decide to basically change the way that we've played for the last 60, 70 years. What does that tell you? Like, just as an ownership, whose idea was that? All right, this squad, and again, fault number one, to think that you can just change a club's philosophy is sackable. To then bring in a coach or to actually think the squad is good enough is a sackable offence. And then Bruno Fernandes, and again, this is not just about him. This is the epitome of, if you've got a player, let's take the name out of the player. You've got a player that is a problem. He's been a problem. You get £100 million offer, and you decided not to do it. It is absolutely a sackable offence. So, and that's just those. That is just the tip of the iceberg. And Malp says the owners are a problem. Exactly, Malps. Liam says smash the thumbs up. Exactly, guys. It really, really does help us out. PJ says we just have to accept that Amarin, Eric Ten Hag and Amarin both bad. PJ, that's an opinion. I disagree with that opinion, but again, that's an opinion. Nothing guy said he might be sacked because we have seen the higher ups don't give time to the managers and they immediately sack them without thinking twice. It's just wrong. Nothing, guy, mate. Spot on. Spot on. The Glazers out. Then Ineos, I agree. Get rid of the lot. Get rid of the lot relegated. Mate, look, Badger. If I even thought for a second, Badger, right, that getting relegated will get rid of this squad, would purge the squad, purge the ownership, I would do it tomorrow. It won't, mate. Look, this regeneration thing is basically keeping them here. And that is, I think we need to understand that relegation will hurt the fans. It will not hurt the owners. New manager, how about some new owners, Maps? I agree with you, mate. I absolutely agree with you. Agree. Peter said that's not true. How many managers did Terry and Lampard? Okay, that's true, right? But yeah, but that's not the same thing, though, is it? You know, that was more a decision of the club, right? So again, but PJ, right? You're quoting a different philosophy and a different style, but you say that, but how many leagues did they win? Like it wasn't as if they were winning league after league after league, right? The reason why the managers got sacked under those, and it's a completely different club, right? But Terry and Co, when they didn't win the league, the manager got sacked. So they did sack, but it wasn't as if Terry and Lampard won league after league after league. That's not how it happened. No, Scholesy, Giggsy, Beckham, they won league after league, and then they basically, like, if you look at Terry, they won a couple of leagues, but they didn't win league after league after league. So the managers got sacked there because they didn't win leagues. So I sort of semi get the point, but it is not the same. You cannot compare the ownership of the Glazers to that of the Chelsea, mate. You just can't do it. You just can't do it, mate. And it is true, PJ. It is true. Just because you don't want it to be true, and it suits what you're trying to say, it is true. Like, they got sacked because Terry and Co, you could argue that they were great, but they still got managers sacked. Not because they weren't great, just because they didn't win leagues. And you know, 100% I agree. It's what the board wanted. Yes, man. Exactly. I'm not saying that because I don't know what you mean by that. Mosquito says Amarin is a good manager, but his decisions and refuses to adopt will get him sacked. Mate, Mosquito, agree with you. I think he's sacked already. I'm baffled. I think it's sabotage. I really, really do. List of the players are new. Most of the players are new. He has a bench to replace it. PJ, look, mate, I get it. That's your opinion. I'm not going to dismiss your opinion. That's your opinion. I disagree. This team finished 15th last season. Amarin's only got 4 players that are his. And don't forget, Amarin didn't veto and didn't sign those players. It was a collective choice. Amarin didn't get his first choice striker. Amarin didn't get his players that he wanted. Amarin didn't want 2 number 10s and a striker. He wanted a striker, but not that striker. He wanted a centre midfielder, possibly 2, a centre back. He didn't get what PJ. What you got to get is he didn't sign off because he can't on these players. This was a collective decision by the club, and he doesn't have a bench to replace every old player at all. They're not his players. This is the thing. They are not his players. Can Roy Keane get a managerial license? How can it be plays when 20 didn't even play for Ralph? Look, PJ, when you've got a core of players that have been here for multiple people being sacked, right? What does that tell you? Right? What does that say to you? They infect this team. These players now. There's a Rashford. Look, Rashford was here. Rashford's only just gone. Sancho's been here as well. They've infected this dressing room, right? And I'm not saying that Amarin isn't a problem now. And I'm not saying that it's just the players. It's not just all on the players, by the way. Amarin, he's baffled me. I've said that if he's part of keeping Fernandez, it's a sackable offence. I'm not saying this all the players. I'm not saying, like, how can every coach that we've sacked be wrong about these players? They've said it time and time and time again. I'm not just, look, the players and the manager are secondary really to the biggest issue. The biggest issue is the toxicity that's been created over 20 years by the Glazers, and this is the end of the line. This is what it's all been building up to. He benched Heaven and Euro. He chose to play Shaw and Maguire in Harlow. PJ, I'm not disagreeing. I think Amarin wants out. This is why he's Amarin is a smart guy. Right? Don't think that he's not. He's doing this on purpose. He's not stupid. He wants sacked. He wants to go. This is the problem. He's not stupid. He wants to go. Let's remember when Amarin broke a TV when we lost to Brighton, I think, and players were crying. Can he do it? Exactly. He looks like Mike Hoxmall. We said it then and there. JB, we would never have got over 100 for Bruno. Could have used to some Belieber, Wharton since it. Look, Tulip Play, you've been here since the very start. You know the things that we've said, we've spoken about. We have absolutely called this. We have said this for the last couple of months. We called it. We said it. We said we didn't want to be right. And look at what's happening now. King Knight says, Crystal Palace, why don't you give chance to Galatasaray? No, because I'm not a fan. And look, there's always a chance, right? Look, you want me to tell you that you're going to win against Liverpool, right? That's what you want me to tell you. If you're playing at home, there's always a possibility. Liverpool, look. Crystal Palace are better than you, right? They are a good side, right? Look, if your team came to the Premier League from the Turkish League, I'm sorry, you'd get nowhere near the top 6. The Premier League is a different class. It's fact, right? Look, if you think you're better than Palace, you are mistaken. Absolutely. Palace are a well-run, well-drilled side. If you think that you're better than Palace, I think you overrate your team and I think you overrate your league. Blue says, new owner, probably Jassim. I'll take all money over Southgate. Look, we almost need this to collapse. Whatever way it takes to get these little scumbags out, I'll take it. Look, right? I'm going to be fair, right? Because PJ, I can see that PJ getting frustrated, and I do respect the opinion, right? But it's like this, right? If you're Amorin and you're playing these players out of position, he's doing it on purpose. And if he is, then guess what? He's got to be sacked, right? He has to be sacked, right? I don't want him to be, but he sort of has to be. And I agree. Amorin cannot get away with this scot-free. He can't. He is doing this on purpose. So therefore, if he is, then guess what? It's on him as well. So it's just a toxic mess. You've got a manager that's clearly doing this on purpose. You've got players that don't want to play for him. You've got owners who are toxic. It's just one big toxic pile of shit. Dino says, I fear this is only going to get worse under this ownership. Overpaid for average players. Sign a manager who's clearly not good enough, who made the decision because they clearly haven't a clue. Dino, and do you know what? I'm hammering in, not because I necessarily think that he's the right guy. I'm managering because it is not the manager. I blame the players before the coach, but then I also blame the ownership, as you say, for signing these players. They're not good enough, for not getting rid of Luke Shaw. Why is he still here? Maguire, why is he still here? Fernandez, why is he still here? The top of the tree are the owners. Then the players, look, Amarin might be many things, but he doesn't dictate the mentality on that pitch. if you play football or you go to work, your mentality is not the responsibility of your workplace. Your mentality is your responsibility. And these players have absolutely none. And Bruno Fernandes is absolutely the top of that list. The players aren't really the problem anymore. The problem is Amarin will not compromise his philosophy and would rather lose than go against it. Liam, again, look, when I say stuff, right, it's just my opinion. And Liam, you could well be right. I think all opinions today on this show, I'll read them out because I respect them all. And somebody's going to be right, right? It is the players, Liam. Right, okay. Where I disagree with that one, I completely respect the opinion, right? But how aren't the players to blame? Like Fernandez yesterday, that penalty was disgraceful. That is sackable, right? That penalty was done on. That penalty was taken in that way because he can't be bothered. The way that he moved around the pitch was disgusting. That is not on Amarin. These players' mentality is not on Amarin. There's a professional pride here, right? But I get it. Amarin is playing his philosophy and not bending. I agree with that. He needs to change, and he won't, and it's going to get him sacked. But these players need to take the blame as well, mate. These players' mentality is disgusting. Kenyon says Paul Scholes has to be manager because he's always support the team. No, not at all. Disagree. Let Amron be given more time and sell the least important players to other teams. Use Euro instead of Maguire. Interesting. I don't think he gets the time, my friend. I don't think he does. I think he's gone. Are we ready for Southgate? Kirk, I've said it, mate. I've said it. It's gonna be Southgate. Be ready. That's all I'm saying. Be ready. Be ready. Be ready. Is he sacked? I'm asking the question. Is he sacked already? My answer to that is probably yes. I do. I did offer another opinion yesterday. I don't think Ineos can afford to sack him. Will Amarin stay because Sir Jim is not going to sack him because they can't afford to? Don't forget, this is right. Don't think right. We could have now a situation, right, whereby Ineos want to save face and won't sack him. Amarin doesn't want to be here, so Amarin is going to be toxic and play a team and play teams that play a system with these players that he doesn't like. So the situation could be this: Amarin doesn't want to be here, so it comes to a point where even I think he should be sacked. The players don't want him here. Amarin doesn't like the players, and Ineos are stuck with him because they can't afford to pay him off. They know Southgate comes in and there'll be a riot. They can't afford to pay him off, so we're going to be stuck with a situation where no party wants to be here, and the ownership won't sack him because they can't afford it. Imagine that situation. I'm not unconvinced of that either. Like, they're not going to be able financially to sack him, and this is going to create a thing where the players don't like him. I don't think he particularly likes the players either, and we're going to be stuck with that mess. And in that situation, then I think relegation is could happen. It could happen. Southgate clearly going to get the manager role. I agree with you. Paul Scholes is a United legend. Look, no, King Leon. Look, Fergie's. Look, I get it, my friend. I do get it, and I think, look, opinions are on here. I'm going to read it out, but what you got to understand, look, Fergie, that era is done and dusted. I don't want to go back to those days because they're gone. Scholesy is not a manager. Just because you're a legend doesn't mean you know how to manage people. Look, Scholesy went to Oldham and failed. Neville went to Valencia, and that was an absolute horrific mess as well. It's done. Beefcake says, I think we should go down to the Championship for a few years and build. Look, Beefcake, I don't disagree with that. But if we go down, the Glazers have to go. Look, if we go down, the only people who will suffer will be the fans. Like, Beefcake, tell me why you think if we go down to rebuild, how does that happen? Like, how do we go down lose all of these players, and then try to rebuild with championship players, and then try to come back up again. Mate, if we go down, we're staying down. We're not coming back up again. Like, you can't buy Premier League players. We'd have to buy championship players. How are championship players going to get us back up into the Premier League? Look, that's all I'm asking. City did it because they had a bunch of money. Beefcake, if we go down, mate, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen, my friend. Dino says, and that's why he's paid a bad manager. A manager who has one plan to play every team in the league is laughable. You need to adjust your plans for each team in this league. Dino, I agree with you, mate. He's not. I disagree that he's a bad coach. He doesn't want to be. I think he's stubborn. I think he wants to play his way. And I think you're right. I think what's becoming obvious is that Amarin is stubborn. He's trying to force these players to play a system that he can't. And Dino, you're right. Adjust your system. For God's sake, man, adjust your system. Southgate in, Beefcake, I'm not, but I think he will. He's trying to get money. KK, I agree with you, my friend. I think so. So Kobe could be partnered up with Adam Morton. I agree with you. Both creative and have great ball ability. And please remove the poor form players by attacking threat. Osman is never coming. I don't just look. Osman should have been bought. Right? Agree with you completely. I think that was Amarin's first choice. He's not coming. You know, we have to be realistic. We have no money. Something has to change, and I don't know what it is. By Adam Morton. And so, Bruno, I agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. Is Amarin going, mate? Martin, I'm asking the question, right? Is Amarin sacked? I think he is. I think he is. I think he's gone. I think he's sacked. You know, but what I am going to say is that I think there's a possibility where we're stuck, where this club is stuck with him because Ineos. Well, look, imagine if Amarin gets sacked in the space of 11 months. That is 2 coaches that have been sacked. This is Nice all over again. And this is what I said. This is what people said at the time when Ineos come into this club. It's going to be cast. They have no idea what they're doing, and they'll treat it like Nice. And the problem with that is this is the Premier League. This is not the French league, and Ineos are solely to blame. Ineos, Barada, Wilcox, completely to blame. They hired this manager. They've bought these players in this team, and now us fans are the fans and the refusal to sell Luke Shaw, the refusal just to get rid of these players because we have £1.2 billion worth of debt. Look, we're sacking the dinner lady. We're taking meals off of the youth players. We're taking free meals away from staff members. We sacked half of the workforce. I mean, we've got no money. What part of this do people not get? This is not a joke. We're £1.2 billion in debt. We made 666 million, one of our biggest ever, and we still lost 33. Like it is. Oh my God, it is such a dire mess. It really is. Amarin wants out, but not stupid enough to walk, because if he does, he misses out on. I agree with you. Misses out on 12 million. He doesn't care when a manager said last season, I'm not sure we should have got rid of them. Look, I think you're right. I do think you're right. King Leon says, why don't United fans think that Paul Scholes is a winner? He's a legend, also has the extraordinary. Leon, you can't be a manager because you're a legend. Just because you play football, right, listen. Just because you play football doesn't mean that you watch football, doesn't mean you know fuck all about football, doesn't mean you can become a manager and a coach. Paul Scholes is not a coach. We don't need somebody who is a legend to come in to tell this team. Like Paul Scholes has been proven he's not a manager. He's not. And you can't just bring in a legend and go do something with his team. It doesn't. Look, Ollie proved that. Like Ollie proved that. Ollie is limited. He got a limited side, and he got sacked. And he's a legend of the club. And this, you know, he got sacked from Cardiff. He's got sacked from. It's not Fenerbahce, is it? He got sacked from Trabzonspor, was it? Or he got sacked from somebody. He's just not very good either. Calm down, people. It's not easy winning games on the road in the Prem. Look, Wondering Eye, there is a fact, there is a truth to that. I said yesterday, we're 3 points, we're a point behind Chelsea, 3 behind City, but wondering, mate, it's not. It is not the loss. It is the way that we play football. Sack Amarin and bring in Van Nistelrooy, Abuka. I think that would be an absolute mistake. Beefcake says, you're not in crisis. Yes, we are. At least at Liverpool in crisis. Ashura says, to think that Man United won't compete for anything until next season is hard. Shulu, we're not competing for anything for the next couple of years. Look, until these parasites are out of this club, and I'm talking about the ownership here, we're not winning. We're not winning a thing. Southgate can help us build a team. Beefcake, look, I'm not going to disrespect your opinion. You better hope so. You better hope so. That is all I'm saying. Is that if Southgate comes in, you better hope so, because it's going to be horrific. He is backed, Sir Jim. No need to be live. He is backed, Sir Jim. No need to be live. Don't know what you're saying. Look, if you're telling me I don't need to be live, mind your business. Like, you don't need to be here. If you don't want me to be live, fuck off, really. Like, I've got no time. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell this community what to do, Ali Gamer. If you don't like it, piss off, mate. It's as simple as that. He deserves to be sacked right now. Bring in Rude. Nah, mate. Not Rude for me. I don't think it's the players. Amarin is too stubborn to change. Look, Liam, mate, respect the opinion. Look, all I'm going to say on these players are, Liam, if you watch a Grimsby game, this is my question to you. I'm not saying that your opinion's wrong. You could be right. All I'm saying to you is look at the Grimsby game and you look at the game yesterday and you watch the players. Are those games on, and what I'm saying, the players' attitudes? Are the players' attitudes on the manager or are they on themselves? That's all I'm asking the question. But I do agree with you, Amaran is too stubborn to change. I really do agree. Seems like Amaran has sabotaged us from the start, changed the whole formation, sold our youth players and wingers. Now we have a bunch of players for a 3-5-2, which the new manager won't play. And Tulip, I mean, look, I don't think Amaran has sabotaged us on purpose. I think Amaran was tasked to clear out the crap, but Ineos told him, look, I think Amaran was I think he was trying to prep for a new team. I thought that he thinks that he was going to get. I don't know what Ineos were doing, hiring a coach who plays a completely different system to what we've always played. And I think Amaran was prepping this team because he thought he was going to get some new players. I don't think he thinks this team was good enough. And I agree with him. But you're right. Ineos have allowed this to happen. Look, we can't blame Amorin for this. Not completely. Ineos backed him completely. Now, if you're letting a coach dictate this and you've hired him and you allow him to do it, look, the ownership is at blame again. They've clearly hired the wrong coach. This is on them. Amarin has come in to do what he thinks is right, and they've hired the wrong coach. They clearly have. But you're right. This is an absolute mess. Beefcake, you're right. Playing Luke Shaw is a fucking disgrace. Maguire, he's played a high line with Maguire, mate. You don't do that by accident. You don't do that. He's done that on purpose. And I'm Tulip. I'm with her. I think this is sabotage, and I think he knows what's going on, and I think he wants to sack. You're right. The Premier League is the best. I agree. But Galatasaray is an evolution, and this has to return. Look, King Leon, I am not putting down your league. But look, in your league, you're a great team. Look, respect the team, but Galatasaray, they're not as good as Palace. I'll have the argument all day long. Look, you would probably do okay in the Premier League, But Galatasaray, I think, as better as they've become, they're a mid-table Premier League team. I'll argue that they'd probably smash us, but I wouldn't take that as anything. United won't win anything for 5 years. I agree with you, Bobby. Hello, my friend, legend of the chat as always. Dino Hughes says 1 win a month. What a joke. Honestly wanted this to work out, but it clearly isn't. Bruno should have is a bad leader and gone. Euro. Look, Dino, something has to change, and I agree with you, mate. This can't continue. I am look. Something has to change. Right, this cannot continue, and I'm not blindly saying Amarin in because I am manager in, because this is not about the manager now. This is not about the coach. This is about the hierarchy getting it wrong again. I will even hold my hands up. Amarin is clearly the wrong coach. He is, but who's going to come in to fix this mess? Nobody. You can't fix these players. It's not all, look, it's not necessarily just the players, but there is no way that, look, how can you make Luke Shaw better? You can't. How can you make Maguire better? You can't. Fernandez, how can you make him better? You can play him in the 10, but he's still petulant. Like, you can't. Now we're overstacked the number 10s. We've got no wingers. So if we do go back to a 4-3-3, we're screwed. So this is a failure. This is an abject failure on Ineos, on the Glazers. They've put together these pathetic excuse for players, and they've sold a bunch of players that maybe they could have turned it around, but that is what they've decided to do. Premier League 200 says the way we play football isn't good. He needs to go and improve. Don't let opponents have ball. Agree with you. Agree. What do you think about Paul Scholes to manage the Red Devils? King Leon, no, absolutely no. Usman says, I think of the board of being honest, they would probably regret not selling Bruno for 100 million. Could have bought Belieber and dropped Cunha, but the Bruno position with Manu and Belieber. So look, Usman, agree with you, mate. Look, the board is stupid. Let's be clear on this. The board ultimately decided not to sell Fernandez for 100 million. They should all be sacked, because as a decision, and I've said it and it's out there, I've done a video on it as well. I knew, I said it. Amarin was going to live or die on Fernandez, but it transpires that Amarin is so stubborn, and I think he wants to sack. I think he wants to sack. I really, really do. Nothing Guy says, positioning wing backs using the central midfield and wing back to create numerical advantages on the flanks, and central defender stepping into the midfield to create passing triangles is the best. I do not disagree with that, but these players can't do it. These players can't do it, my friend. They can't do it. Luke Shaw yesterday was fucking awful. I mean, he was at fault for at least 2 of those goals yesterday. He can't defend. The guy can't defend. He's a defender that can't defend. He's done and dusted. Amarin playing Luke Shaw, he knows what he's doing. I was Amarin in, but I can't take it. Look, Bobby, mate, the reason why I'm not calling for Amarin is because, look, does he need to go, and will he go? Probably, right? Is it probably the right time for a change? Yes, something has to change. But who's going to come in? And we will talk about the managers. But who's going to come in? Number one, don't need their players. This is what I struggle with in this fan base. Not because I think people are wrong, and not because I think that I'm right. What is a manager going to do with these players? A new manager is going to want his own players, because you cannot work with this squad. It's been proven time and time again, and these players get away. That Amarin may not be the guy, but neither are these players. It is fair to say Arsenal will win the Prem if they win today. Look, Arsenal are bottle jobs, but if anyone's going to win the Premier League, I do hope it's them. If Amarin is not out, I would suggest him to use the tactics, because it's the only option for him. Look, nothing, Guy. You could tell him the tactics to use. You could look forward into the future, right? And you could be right. Amarin will not play them because he's stubborn. Dino Hughes says these players have gotten 5 managers sacked. Play power is really, and they're a massive issue. Dino, agree, mate. Sunderland next, I can see them beating us. KK, I agree with you, and I think they will beat us. Dino Hughes, I fear playing Sunderland, another embarrassment incoming. Agree with you. Next manage Carrick or Ollie. Look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Bring them in. They're going to fail. Southgate in. Ollie was unfairly sacked. Disagree completely. But that's an opinion. We're going to get relegated. Beefcake. Look, if it continues as we are, and Ineos can't sack Amorin, and it gets toxic, possibly. But I still think we're too good. Amarin has 0 tactical flexibility, so how can we call him a good coach? He's not even won 2 games in a row. It's look, Liam. Maybe he can't, right? But I think you're right. I don't disagree. I think we can discuss and pontificate about formations and whatever else, right? Fine. Doesn't matter now, mate, because I think he's gone. I do. And I agree with you. Not being able to win 2 games in a row is unforgivable. And this is why the fan base has turned. This is why he's got 0 time, because and something has to change. Relegation is probably the only way to get the. Is that Dino Hughes? It's not, my friend. Look, if we go down, the Glazers will love it. We can sell the players. We'll get rid of high costs. We'll still probably get the same income. We'll still probably get around about 500 million per match day. They won't have to spend massive on players' wages or players as well. It'll be perfect, and then they'll stick around to regenerate, mate. Relegation is not getting rid of these scumbags, mate. It will actually probably make them stay for longer, because they won't have all the high costs. We'll get a parachute payment, which they'll take. Right? Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Relegation, the only thing that relegation will do is hurt fans. Nothing guy says I can manage United. Mate, I think we could all do a better job. King Leon must be 12 years old and has 0 knowledge of who the next manager could be. Yeah, you're right. Look, mate, it's just an opinion, isn't it? Southgate 100% won't get the job. Dan Ashworth wanted him and he got sacked. But Liam, what you got to get, mate, is credible sources are coming out, and Southgate is 6-1, and Sir Jim wants Southgate. We messed up massively by not getting. Look, we said that. We've said that, Liam, as well. I mean, if you basically watch any of the shows that I did, I said it. In fact, not just me, but we all said it. It's mental. Charlie Kerr is a weird guy. Maybe. Hey, I'm from Indonesia. Smash the thumbs up, people. Exactly. It does really, really help us out. They can't get rid of these players. No one wants them. And look, Frugal Boy, 100%. 100%. You are spot on, my friend. AKP says, hi, the nothing guy. Maradona was a legend. Look at him. He's a trash manager. Exactly. Dino Hughes, we need to be hiring the best in class, not past experience as a player. Doesn't mean you can be a manager. I agree completely. I'd rather Ollie back than Southgate. Bobby, agreed. I'd rather Ollie back than Southgate. So if it is Southgate, I'm Ollie at the wheel. Ahmed says, as a Liverpool fan, I hope Amarin stays in charge until we play against us. Oh, Ahmed. Oh, don't be mean. Football Rufus says Southgate next, and he says, hi, hello, my friend. It is, mate. It is. We need to keep homegrown players, says Keith, instead of selling them and buying average players. Homegrown players, put the effort in. I say play them and not sell them. Look, I would take 11 academy players who want to play for this club, rather than a bunch of players who down tools. I agree with you, Chris Chris says, keep Amarin. We can't keep changing direction. It took Fergie 6 years. Look, Chris, look, I am Amarin out. Yeah, I'm Amarin in, which I have been the whole way through. But something has to change, my friend. And let's be honest, he's not going to get given time. He's not going to get given players. He can't work with his set of players, and Amarin is stubborn. He won't change if Amarin was prepared to change his system, look, Amarin, where I think I can see that Amarin is a bit thick, right? I think what I would do is, I know these players are not going to play for me, right? They're playing for themselves. So what I would do is I would play them at their own game, right? I'd be their mate. I'd say, oh yeah, guys, look, guys, can you make sure, that you like help me out, because if you do, there's like a contract, at the sort of end of the season, do to them what they do to everyone else. Just make them play, pander to them slightly, and then and then basically at the sort of end of next season, sell them. Like, that's what he hasn't learnt. That for me is what he's not learnt. These players, we all know what these players are. You just sort of pander to them a bit and then sack them at the end of the season. Like, it's as simple as that. Players are to blame. English, my brother, Kevin McGee says, it's the internet, mate. People can say what they like. Anyhow, Amaran is cooked. He cannot adapt, will not, or doesn't think he needs to. Players respond to managers. Everything comes from him. Kevin, I semi agree with that, mate. Look, semi agree with that. Where I don't agree with that is, look, Bruno Fernandes is the epitome of that, right? Like the Grimsby game, mate. The Grimsby game, you can't say that's on the manager. Look, these players. I'm not just blaming the players, by the way, because look, if you're being played out of position, Amarin, the problem is Amarin doesn't know his players. They are prima donnas. We all know this. Chuck their dummies out the pram. If Amarin had have known that, look, to survive, you need to outthink these players. You need to be smarter than these players. These are the players that you have to work with. Work with them until the end of the season, and then fuck them off. But you're right. He hasn't adapted. He hasn't adapted to what you've got to play with. And these players are snakes. Players are snakes, and he hasn't adapted, and he's paid for it. He's paid for it, and he's going to pay for it. Rufus Football says, hi, hello, 19-minute match day. Can you give me a shout out? 19-minute match day. Welcome to the chat, my friend. You have got a shout out. I hope you're doing extremely well today. Glasner is able to make it work with lesser players. That tells us everything about Amarin. It doesn't, mate. It doesn't, mate. It really, really doesn't. Right. Kevin McGee, I'm not calling you out. This is just a little bet, right? I bet you, whatever manager you get, other than a Southgate, because Southgate will come in and play any tune. I bet to you, if we get Glasner, and we'll go through the coaches as well. If we get Glasner, we'll be back here next year, right? If this channel's still around next year, and you're still part of this community, which I really, really hope you are, because you really do make some really, really good points, Kevin. I bet you that if Glasner comes in with these set of players, we'll be here next year. John McQueen says Amarin is 2-1 dimensional. He won't change the players United can't play his system, and the midfielders they have can't do it. Change needs to happen soon. Look, I agree with you that change needs to happen. The problem is, John, and again, I respect the opinion, we don't have the players. The players are, look, if you don't have the tools for the job, then how can you do your job? But respectfully, then I agree with Amarin. Then needs to change something. As a coach, he's too stubborn. So, and he's going to pay for it. We have top players. Should be able to play in it. Look, Chris, agree with you. We do have top players that should be able to play in any formation. Agree completely. Amarin is an illustrator. He doesn't deserve his position. Disagree. Amarin is the best thing that could happen to us. Keep him. Don't keep changing. look, we need to do something different, but we're not going to, are we? We're gonna keep on. Why can't you wait? Beefcake, you're a legend, mate. Really enjoy your live streams. Beefcake, look, mate, thank you so much. I will say this: I'm only as good as the legends in this chat. I'm only as good as you guys who answer questions. Who give me questions. We talk about it. Like I am not here to look. My opinion is not the best. I'm wrong a lot of the time. Just ask my wife, right? But yeah, I'm only as good as you lot on here. There's too much noise from the players. I agree. It's just about butter chicken in the end. I would have to say Moyes, Mourinho, Van Gaal was sacked, finishing 6th or 7th, and they still won silverware somehow. But this is the first time I've also seen us finishing 15th. I agree. It didn't work with 4-3-3. Chris, mate, I agree with you. Look, Chris, I am agreeing with you, mate. I think we're singing the same tune, my friend. In Burma is a winger, and so is Ahmad. Nothing guy, and still Amarin in the club is pretty unbelievable. You guys deserve this. I don't see how. I don't really see how. I mean, the fans don't. The way that I see it is this: we don't deserve it. The fans don't. The club doesn't. But what did we expect with these owners? We are paying now for what the owners have done over the last 20 years. Nobody deserves what is happening here. Nobody does. And if you're that narrow-minded and that petty, that's up to you. But I would never wish this on any club. I don't wish it on Liverpool, Leeds, City. No, I don't wish it upon any club or any of fans to go through this. Disagree completely. Persevere. The Glazers out. I agree. Well, lads and ladies, morning people. Benja, legend. Did they sack him? Not yet, Benja. Bruno should never take a pen again until I agree with you. United need a new manager every 18 months. It seems that way. Shane, a new manager will win more games than lose 1 in 2. Omni Dorgu is a specialist from Amarin's formation. He is. Don't sign it anymore for Amarin. Shane, he's not going to get it, mate. He's not going to get it. Amarin in. You guys just judge with no info. Titus, mate, I've got enough. Look, Titus, when you support a club, as I have for 40 years, and you invested in it and you read so many different things, I know more about my club than you do. So, nothing to say. Andrew, Edwards, legend of the chat. Hey, GB, I was thinking last night, even if we get a new manager, does he even have the place to change to a 4-3-3 now? You have 4 CMs, 2 of which aren't up to the purpose, and a winger. Andrew, and look, Andrew Edwards comes into this chat, right? And he absolutely sometimes brings in some bangers, right? Andrew always speaks sense. You're right. You're absolutely right, and that again is a failure. It'll be put as a failure on Amarin, but it's not. It's a failure on this footballing side. Like Andrew, spot on. We don't even now have players to play a 4-3-3. So how is, and a manager's going to need to have new players? It is absolute just. It's horrific. Southgate sick. I agree. We got done in Fergie time. I'm sick. Eddie Howe, Xavi. When he goes, I agree, but Eddie Howe is not coming. He's not. We need Big Sam to save us, Nico. Who wants to play for United now? Well, Burmo, Cunha, Shesko. That's what I'm saying. Wayne says, I want a Newcastle win. Let's see. Sack him before November the 1st. We have to pay 12 million, worth every cent before we get before we go down. Sorry guys, I've got a cold. Joe Silver, hi bro. Tough game. I'm from Brazil. Welcome, my friend. Where are you from? United Kingdom or the States? I'm from Essex in the United Kingdom. Low IQ fans. Titus. I mean, look, mate. Clearly, Toxic Sunday, Titus. I guarantee you my IQ is higher than yours. I guarantee it. I've got a very higher IQ. So I guarantee, and I guarantee there's people on here like Andrew, You know, there's so many people on here. I could name loads and loads of people. I guarantee we've all got a higher IQ than you. Judging by the messages that you put on here, I probably my children, one of them who's 6, who's learning to read. I guarantee you she's got a higher IQ than you. Definitely not Zidane. He hates England. If I'm honest, I believe that the decision has been made. Amarin is gone, but I think they'll wait until the international break to get rid of him. Do you know what? Probably right, mate. I think you're right. Shane says even Wolves changed to a back 4 yesterday for the first time and they outplayed Spurs. Look, guys, you're all right. Niche fan, legend, where have you been, niche fan? Just broken. Sergio is fully back in Amarin. We need at least 6 new players. Complete joke. Let's see, shall we? Let's see. Our academy plays 4-3-3 and we need to play 4-3-3 to integrate them into the team. Like the stream, people. Well done. Thanks, Beefcake. Shane says so. Glasner can't come. Same system, doesn't have the players. Xavi won't come, mate. Glasner will suffer too. There's no midfield. The bias, legend of the chat, agree. I say these players are getting the manager sacked, but 95% of the squad different from the team that sacked Dolly, and 5% are the leadership team. Look, it's like having a wound, right? If you get rid of all the infection in a wound, but part of the infection is still there. It infects the rest of the team. That I'm not blaming all of the players, 100%. I'm not. But it's toxic. It's new players come in and they're infected by the toxicity from the fan base, from the ownership. Like it's still here, mate, and it's awful. The bias, Xavi won't last more than 8 months. Palace keeper, wing backs, 3 centre backs, midfield are all better than ours. I agree. Nico, not a United fan, but how can United be so bad 12 years after Fergie? It's utterly perplexing. Nico, I could go through it, but I'm going to. Let me quickly get through this chat before I go, and we can look for the managers. We don't have wing backs. We don't have midfielders. That's a complete joke. Can we sack him in November for nothing? Xavi's not coming. Xavi is not coming, my friend. Just 4 more games. Joe Silva says, United, I think Robin, who played for Bayern, is very underrated. He played very well and doesn't get the credit. I'm sick to death of Amarin now. He's trying to make a Big Mac in a vegan restaurant. Even Liverpool and Arsenal fans are feeling it. And this is when you know, right? This is when you know that how bad you are, when fans feel sorry for you. They don't even want to give you a banter anymore. They just feel really, really badly for you. So, Charlie Davis says, hi, hello, my friend. Oh, God, I've got to get comfortable here. Jesus Christ. Charlie Davis says, hi, hello, my friend. Jeez, I need to get comfortable. Talk is crap. Russell Martin. The zero end product. JB, he's got to go in November, mate. I think he's gone already. Has he been sacked, JB? Not yet. Not Brett May. I'm asking the question, my friend. And Burma can't play on the wing. Do you think we should bring back De Gea for a keeper position? The Titanic himself. I'd bring him back tomorrow, but I don't think he'd come. I'm telling you, it will be Southgate. Be ready. I agree with you, Tobias. I've already said that. I've been saying it for the last week. It is going to be Southgate. Essex United fan. Look. Yeah, what's wrong with that, my friend? Cunha shoots everything everywhere and scores nothing. What the heck? Nigerian guy, Amarin should stay. Shane says, I'm thick as shit, but I know football. Shane, you're not thick, mate. I guarantee you're not. Amarin made this all about his philosophy and formation from the very beginning. Selfish, narcissistic. These players are not playing for him. I think, look, mate, I think that could be a really valid opinion. We don't know him as a person. And he could be. He could well be. At least we'll play Lemens after this shit show. Can I ask who is worse, Binder or Anana? Anana. 100%. Hello, my friend. Do you know Besiktas? I don't know them too well. You keep making excuses. It's tactical. It's also based on the decision from the owners, which are quite bad. I'm not making excuses at all. I know it is like Amarin is now once out. I think Amarin's wanted out since the Grimsby game. I do. And I think he's sabotaging the team. I don't think he wants to be here. He doesn't like the players. The players can't stand him, and he wants a payout. This is top United channel. Should have thousands here listening. One of my favourites. Thank you, Shane. Mate, thank you so much. I appreciate that, my friend. You know, spread the word out there. You know, get more. Not that you guys are not legends, but the more people we have on here, the bigger this gets, the more that I can do. So, Shane, this is what it's about. I mean, if you want to see me do more stuff, if you want to see me go on the tour next year, mate, I will hold these players to account. I would love to interview these players and get these and hold these players to account. The owners have the issues. I agree with you, but Amarin is quite crap. Look, it is becoming quite clear. Amarin has fallen. They were like Rome. Oliver Sinclair. Hey, mate, do you think who should be the new manager? I'll come on to that. I'll get through these chats. I watched the tactical analysis of the issue and he's playing badly. I don't disagree. I'm off to watch Rangers game. Peace out. Peace out, my friend. Can't be Southgate. If we bring Southgate, United fall off needs to be studied. I agree. Oliver says, I'm thinking either Glasner or Emery should be the next manager. The reason I say Glasner is because he's tactically adaptable and he's proven at Palace. And Frankfurt, I don't disagree. Why is Euro benched? I don't know. I think it's Amarin. I really do. Maybe we could chuck a roller in there. A roller is a good option, possibly. Euro is benched because of Bruno in Amarin's ear. I agree with you completely. And this is why Bruno, I want that fucker out of this club. I'm done. I'm done. Guess who plays today in? JB? I don't know. Ten Hag in. Yellow. Like and shared. Thoughts on Ten Hag. Ten Hag, stubborn. Ten Hag wasn't good enough. Ten Hag's gone. Mark Gobridge would like to manage MU with his big mouth and full of shit. I hate Elon's politics, but I want him to buy the club. Bring in someone worse. I'm jealous of the way Newcastle play here in an hour. Quality defence, unreal. Exactly. He gets 9 million to go home with and rid of this nightmare. I think he's tanking it, but also looked the way that Ten Hag and his strange team selections. I agree. He's getting sacked in the morning. So, before I go, guys, it's been an amazing show again. So, the odds are, and it depending on who you look at. So, there's Sky Bet and there's all sorts of stuff. So, basically, you've got Emery at 4-1. You've got Southgate. So let's have a look. Let's go through the chat. So Jesse, great stream. Can I get a shout out to my homie? You've got a shout out to your homie, mate. And yeah, I'm not saying that. Cool show. Will be fun. Thank you. Danny James says Ruben has a win rate of less than 30%. It is shockingly bad. Paddy Power, I'm afraid to look. So basically, the odds across the board are Emery is 4-1, Southgate 6-1, Glasner 7-1, Arola 8-1, Xavi 9-1, Zidane 9-1. I mean, if you look across the board, what is consistent across all the different sites is Southgate is second. Southgate is pretty much second or first. So, no, I support MU, but I'm from the States. Welcome, my friend. I hope you are extremely well. So, before I go, look, guys, great show. I think it's important today to do that show because I'm not hiding away from it. The last couple of weeks, I've purposefully stayed away from saying if I want the manager in or out, right? Because I didn't want to have that conversation because I didn't want Amarin sacked. The landscape has basically now changed. Shane says I'm going to write if Southgate comes in. I didn't want to have this conversation, but it's what is quite clear now is Amarin doesn't want to be here now, and if he doesn't want to be here, then fuck off. The players don't want to play for him. He doesn't like the players. I think Amarin is actually to a point where he's disrespecting the fans by playing this shit. He knows what he's doing. I don't blame him. I blame the players, Yeah, I do blame the players, but you know, we bought these players. We've let these players do this time and time again. And when you let them do it, you know, the manager and the players are the least of the issue. The issue are the ownership. The Glazers, who are absolute scumbags, who have drowned this club in debt, and then Ineos, who have no idea what the hell that they're up to. So I fully expect, so two things will happen. Okay, number one, Amarin is sacked in the international break, and I do agree with that. Not agree that he should be, but I do agree that then I think that's where he'll get sacked. And then it's Southgate. So prepare yourself for Southgate, or they cannot afford to sack him. Ineos don't want to admit that they're wrong. They want to save face, and they'll basically keep him. And then if we keep him and he doesn't get sacked, it's going to be horrific. So I think bear those two things in mind. It could be potentially he doesn't get sacked because they can't afford it. And if that happens and Amarin won't walk because Ineos want him to walk, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So, guys, all I can say, guys, is thank you for being here. Absolutely legendary. You all, thank you for interacting with the channel. I always say this, it means so much to me. And you guys make the channel fantastic. And it's all thanks to you guys. So I can only thank you. Enjoy the football today. Have a good rest of your afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. I might be back this evening. I might not. I feel like absolute crap. But we'll see. If not, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you very, very soon. I'll see you on the next one. Take care all.